Namaste everyone, I am Gyan and you are watching the session 5 of Java and Web User Defined Data Types. In this video, we will write a program in Java to add 2 points in the 2D space. This is the code. The file name is point.java and this file contains two classes. The first class is class point and the second class is class main. The class point, which is actual user defined data type, which has two instance variables, the variable x and the variable y. The instance variable x represents the x coordinate in the 2D space and the instance variable y represents the y coordinate in the 2D space. Since the class main contains the method main, so the execution starts from the class main. The bytecode of the class main starts execution and the various JVM memory areas gets created. Two of them are heap and stack. Other memory areas are not shown in the animation. The method main starts execution, so the stack frame of the method main gets created on the stack area of the JVM memory. The stack frame of the method main contains the location for the variable args. The variable args contains an address. What type of address is stored into the variable args will be discussed in the later session. Then after JVM executes this line. Here the JVM needs to create a new object of type point in the heap, and the address of created object will be stored into the local variable p1. The variable p1 of type point is a reference variable which contains address of the created object in heap. So the address of the newly created object in the heap will be stored into the local variable p1. The variable p1 is a reference variable which contains address of the created object, and this variable p1 is the local variable to the method main. The class point has two private instance variables. The variable x is of type integer and the variable y is of type float. Since the both instance variables x and y of class point has not been initialized, so the JVM gives them default values to initialize them. And from the previous video, we know that the instance integer variable will be get a default value 0 and the instance float variable will get a default value 0.0 by JVM. So the JVM initialized both variables by providing them default initial values. After this statement, the next statement to execute is point p2 is equal to new point. So similar to previous point, a new object has been created in heap with the instance variables x and y with the default values provided by JVM 0 and 0.0. The address of the newly created object has been stored into the reference variable p2. The variable p2 is again local to the method main. The next statement is point p3 is equal to new point. Again similar to previous two cases, the new object has been created into the heap area with the default initial value of the instance variables 0 and 0.0. The address of newly created object has been stored into the instance variable p3. The instance variable p3 is again local to the method main. After that, we call the method setData with the reference variable p1 with the actual arguments as 2 and 3.4. That's how the method setData has been called, by using the reference variable p1, and the stack frame for the method setData has been created into the stack area. Now since the method main calls the method setData, that's how the method main have to wait for the setData to finish. So the method main is waiting for the method setData to complete its execution. The first actual argument 2 has been copied into the first formal argument I of the method setData. So the value 2 has been copied into the local variable I of the method setData. Similarly, the second actual argument 3.4 has been copied into the second formal argument j. So the value 3.4 has been copied into the local variable j. The next statement to be executed is x is equal to I. So whatever is stored into the local variable I will be stored in the x. Now the question is, what is x? The x is the instance variable here. And there are three objects, p1, p2 and p3. So writing here x means whose x? Is it x of this object whose address is stored into the local reference variable p1? Or it is x of this object whose address is stored into the local reference variable p2? Or it is x of this object, that is whose address is stored into the local reference variable p3. The x written here belongs to that object whose reference variable calls the method. Since the reference variable p1 calls the method setData, that's how the object whose address is stored by the reference variable p1, the x belongs to that object. Since the variable I contains 2, so the value 2 got assigned to the variable x of this object whose address is stored into the reference variable p1, because the reference variable p1 is used to call setData method. For the next statement, it has been written y equals j. So whatever is stored into the local variable j will be stored into the variable y of this object. So the variable y of the object whose address is stored into the local variable p1 got changed to 3.4. After finishing this line, the execution of the setData method comes to an end, and the stack frame of the setData method got erased from the stack. The method main resumes itself. The last statement has been executed in the method main is this one. In the next statement, we need to call the method setData with the reference variable p2. So the first actual argument will be copied into the first formal argument, and the second actual argument will be copied into the second formal argument. The stack frame of the setData gets created on the stack, and the method main has again to wait for the setData to finish. But at this time, the reference variable p2 is used to call the method setData. So only x written in the setData method belongs to an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable p2. Since the reference variable p2 contains address of this object, so writing here only x actually denotes this x, the x belong to this object. That's how in the next line we need to assign whatever is stored into the local variable I to the instance variable x, the instance variable x of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p2. In the next line, we need to assign whatever is stored into the local variable j to the instance variable y. And again, at this time, the instance variable y belongs to an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p2, since the reference variable p2 has called the method. That's how the two instance variables of these two objects whose addresses are stored into the reference variable p1 and p2 has changed. After this statement, the execution of the setData comes to an end, and the stack frame of the method setData has been erased from the stack. The method main resumes itself. The next statement to be executed by the method main is this one, p3.add, and as a actual argument p1, p2. So here as a actual argument we are using the reference variables p1 and p2. The method add has been called by using the reference variable p3. The stack frame of the method add will be created in the stack section of the JVM memory, and the method main needs to wait for it. Whatever is stored into the actual argument p1 will be copied into the formal argument p1, and whatever is stored into the actual argument p2 will be copied into the formal argument p2. That's how whatever is stored into the actual argument p1, that is addr1, will be copied into the formal argument p1 of the method add, and whatever is stored into the actual argument p2, that is addr2, will be copied into the formal argument p2 of the method add. So the local variable p1 of the method add contains address of this object, and the local variable p2 of the method add contains address of this object. The method add itself has been called by the reference variable p3, which contains address of this object. So whenever the JVM find only x has been written in the body of the method add, the x belong to instance variable of that object whose reference is used to call the method add, and the reference variable p3 contains address of this object. So writing here only x is actually the instance variable x of this object, and writing here only y is actually the instance variable y of this object, because the reference variable of this object, that is the reference variable p3, has been used to call the method add. p1.x belong to the instance variable x whose address is stored into the reference variable p1. From the member method of the same class, we can access the private instance variables like this. But from the member method of some different class, we cannot access the private instance variables like this. So writing here p1.x means the instance variable x of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p1. And writing here p1.y means the instance variable y of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p1. Similarly, p2.x denotes this x because the p2 contains the address of this object, and p2.y denotes this y because address of this object is contained by this reference variable. So what we need to do here is we need to add x which belong to this object and x which belong to this object. We need to add these two x and have to store into the x of this object. So 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Similarly, in the next line, we need to add the instance variable y which belongs to this object with the instance variable y which belongs to this object. We need to add these two y's and need to store the instance variable y which belongs to this object. So 3.4 plus 4.5 is equal to 7.9. After execution of this statement, the method add comes to an end. So the stack frame of the method add got erased from the stack and method main resumes itself. The next statement to execute is p3.showData. Here you see that the showData method has been called by using the reference variable p3. So the showData method have to execute now. The only x written in the body of the method belongs to the instance variable x of an object whose reference variable is used to call the method. Since the reference variable p3 is used to call the method, so the instance variable x belongs to this object and the instance variable y belongs to this object. The stack frame of the method showData has been created on the stack area and the method main has to wait for the method showData to finish its execution. The statement to be executed in the method showData is x is equal to x and y is equal to y. The only x written here belongs to the instance variable x of an object whose address is stored into the caller reference variable. Here the caller reference variable of the method showData is p3, so only x belongs to this object. Because the reference variable p3 contains the address of this object, contains the address addr3. So the value of the instance variable x and the value of the instance variable y gets printed in the showData. It prints x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 7.9. After this statement, the execution of the method showData comes to an end and the stack frame of the method showData has to be erased from the stack. Method main resumes itself. The method main resumes its execution, but there is no further statement here. So after this statement, the stack frame of the method main will be erased from the stack. And after the execution of the method main comes to an end, the execution of JVM also comes to an end. Let me execute this code practically. Open point.java and this is the code. This is the same code as we seen. Let me save and compile it. Java C point.java, compiles fine, then run it. Java main, since the class name containing method main is main. It runs fine, printing x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 7.9. This is the same program as we seen before, but in this case the method add is returning a data of type point. In the session 4 of Java and Web, methods as flow of control, we have seen a method can return primitive variables. But the method can also return the reference variables. A method can also return the reference of an object. The first statement has been executed. Point p1 is equal to new point. So the local reference variable p1 contains address of this object. The second statement is point p2 is equal to new point. So the reference variable p2 contains address of this object. And we have the next statement is point p3 is equal to null. Here the point p3 does not contain any address. The point p3 contains null. The next statement has been executed. p1.setData 2, 3.4. So 2 and 3.4 has been assigned into the private instance variables of this object. The next statement also got executed. p2.setData is equal to 3, 4.5. So the instance private variables of this object has been assigned to 3 and 4.5. Now the animation starts with this execution. We are calling the method add using the reference variable p1. So the stack frame of the method add gets created on the stack and method main have to wait for it. Since the method main is the caller of the method add and the method main is calling the method add by using the reference variable p1. Whatever is stored into the actual argument p1 will be copied into the formal argument p1 and whatever is stored into the actual argument p2 will be copied into the formal argument p2. So the addr1 has been copied into the p1 of the method add and addr2 has been copied into the p2 of the method add. In the body of the method add, we need to create a new object of type point. The reference variable of type point gets created into the method add which stores address of this object. After that, the next statement is p3.x is equal to p1.x plus p2.x. So the instance variable x of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p3 gets assigned by the addition of instance variable x of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p1 plus instance variable x of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p2. So these two x gets added which will be stored into the instance variable x of this object because the p3 contains address of this object. So the variable x of this object becomes 5. Notice here that we are not using only x or only y in the body of the method add. So caller does not matter here because when we write only x into the body of the method add, then that x will be instance variable of an object whose reference is used to call the method. But in this case we do not have only x or only y here. So here the reference variable by using which we call the method does not matter because the instance variable of that object whose reference is used to call the method is not going to be affected. So here it does not matter how the method main is calling the method add. Here the method main can call the method add by using the reference variables p1 and p2. The result will not vary. But the method main cannot call the method add by using the reference variable p3. The reference variable p3 still contains null. So using p3 we cannot call the method add. That's how x of an object whose address is stored into the reference variable p1 and x of the object whose address is stored into the reference variable p2 got added and stored into the instance variable x of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable p3. In the next line we are adding p1.y plus p2.y to store it into the p3.y. So similar to the instance variable x, in this case the instance variable y 3.4 plus 4.5 is equal to 7.9 gets stored into the instance variable y of this object. Then after the method add returns whatever is stored in its reference variable p3. The reference variable p3 here contains address of this object and that address will be returned to the caller method main. The address addr4 will be returned to the caller method main. The value returned by the method add will be stored into the reference variable p3 of the method main. So whatever is stored into the p3 of the method add will be stored into the p3 of the method main. After this statement, the method add comes to an end and the stack frame of the method add has been erased from the stack and the method main resumes itself. The next statement to be executed in the method main is p3.showData. In this case, the reference variable p3 is used to call the showData method. So stack frame for the showData method has been created on the stack. Since we are calling the method showData using the reference variable p3, so only x belongs to that object whose reference is stored into the reference variable p3. That's how x and y of this object whose reference is contained by the reference variable p3 has been printed. It prints x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 7.9. Let me execute this code practically. Open point1.java and this is the code. This is the same code as we seen. Let me save and compile it. Java C point1.java. Compiles fine. Then run it. Java main. Since the method main contains in the class main. It prints x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 7.9. After execution of this program, you have some tasks. First task is write a program to add 2 points in the 3D space. The next task is you have to write a program to add 2 complex numbers and print the result. The third task is write a program to add 2 time objects in the form of hour, minute and second and print the result. That means you need to write 2 hours 13 minutes 54 seconds in the 3 hours 13 minutes 52 seconds like that. That's all for this video guys. Don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe this channel if you are new and leave your valuable comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.